This presentation is brought to you by the Allegany County Department of Emergency Services and is designed to introduce you to the Motorola APX 8000 P25 Digital Phase 2 portable radio and the Maryland First 700 MHz radio system. This presentation is not designed to take the place of hands-on training. Hello, I'm Steve Shipley, Emergency Management Chief for Allegany County. Here we are in our 911 center where they handle over 300 incidents per day.
Allegany County 911, what's the address of emergency?
The Motorola APX 8000 is a tri-band radio. The radios we currently have in the county that are being deployed are 700, 800 megahertz, as well as 450 megahertz. Some companies have elected to pay the $800 a radio and activate the VHF, which is in the radios and can only be used in Garrett County. Moving forward, we will issue Wi-Fi devices to each department to be able to update portables and mobiles remotely. These radios are the responsibility of Allegany County, and all maintenance and repairs will be handled and paid for by the county. Departments are encouraged to put the radios on their company insurance in case a radio is lost or destroyed or damaged by foul play. Each radio will be equipped with GPS that is not active 24/7. The GPS is used to find the missing radio or people if no other means exist. GPS use is restricted by state bandwidth in the area. Each radio is equipped with a Bluetooth device that will assist us in updating the radio via Wi-Fi. Here we are looking at the side view of the radio. The purple button at the top is the repeater remote activation button. The button below that, the larger button, is the push to talk button. Below the push to talk button, there are two half moon shaped buttons. The top button serves two functions, the first being the light control button, and if you hold it in, it's also the top screen orientation button. The bottom half moon button is the scan control button. Switching to the back view of the radio, this is where the audio speaker is located. At the bottom of the audio speaker is the blue dot Bluetooth receiver. Switching to the front view, here beside the Motorola insignia is the mic. Here's the navigation screen with the battery indicator in the upper right corner and the tower signal indicator in the upper left corner. The three buttons below the screen are the menu selection control buttons. The button here is the home button. The four arrows in the middle are the navigation buttons and also controls the menu. The button located here to the right of the navigation controls is the program data button, which will be used by the radio tech only. Looking at the top view of the radio, the knob located here is the on and off switch to the radio as well as the volume control. Located next to the on and off knob is the A, B, and C switch, which allows you to navigate between the Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie zones in your radio, which are the first three zones, and they're the Allegany County channels. The knob located here is a 16-channel selector knob used to navigate between channels within each zone. The large orange button located at the top of the radio is the emergency activation button. The top also has a screen that mirrors the front of the radio and is the navigation control screen with a battery indicator in the upper right corner. Located here below the channel selector knob is the radio lock button. When the radio lock button is on the on position, the channel selector knob is disabled, thus not allowing the radio to change channels. Here we are looking at the Motorola RSM Extreme Speaker Mic. This is the side view of the speaker mic. The button located here at the top is the volume control. The large button here in the center is the push to talk button. Below the push to talk button is the radio screen light, and also if you hold it in, it'll change the orientation on the top screen of your radio. Looking at the front of the speaker mic, the button located here will turn the light on the front of the mic on and off. The light, which is located here, also functions as a strobe light during emergency activation of the radio. On the front of the mic, there are two transmit mics, the center transmit mic, which is located here, and the side transmit mic, which is located here. The three black lines in the middle of the radio are the audio receive speaker. The orange button located here on top of the mic is the emergency activation button, which functions the same as the orange emergency activation button on the top of the portable radio. Here we are looking at the Motorola APX 8500 mobile radio. The power button located here is the green button. The four buttons located below the screen are the menu control buttons. These buttons here are the zone control buttons that let you navigate up and down through the zones of the radio. The button below the zone control buttons with the sun on it controls the lighting on the backlight of the radio. The home button located here, if pressed, will take you back to the home of the radio. The small orange button located in the upper right hand side of the radio is the emergency activation button. The knob, which we have here, controls two functions of the radio. In normal mode, you can just turn it left and right to bring your volume up and down. If you need to select your channels within each zone, you can press the button down and turn the knob, which will let you navigate between the channels of each zone.
Engine Tanker 9-3, switch to Alpha 1 for operations.
Hello, this is Roger Bennett, Deputy Director of Operations for the Allegany County Department of Emergency Services. We'll start off with talking about our fleet map, which contains all the zones for our radios, both the 8500 mobile and the 8000 portable. Within zone A, B, and C are your Allegany County's channels. How this will operate, we have 10 fire rescue operations channels along with 3 EMS operations channels. Within zone A, we begin off with Alco Main and also we end with Alco Main. So channel 1 and 16 are both exactly the same on the radio select knob. Alpha 1 through 5 are designed for your routine incidents, which don't expand into much more than just a few companies' response. Alpha 6, Alpha 7 have 4 channels within that talk group. Alpha 6-1 will be the operations channel, which goes back into dispatch. Alpha 6-2 and 6-3 are also recorded and monitored by the dispatch, but these are channels that the incident commander can delegate out for use as their incident expands and contracts. Alpha 6 announce will be an announce channel that the incident commander can go to and monitor all 3 of his operations channels and also transmit to all 3 of his operations channels. 7 bank is also, or talk group is also exactly the same, except it's just another group that we would assign to an incident. Next channel we have is your Alco 700 alert. That is a simulcast version of your 450 alert system, which is going live in the county within the next couple months. Moving over to zone Bravo is very similar to zone A, except we now have Bravo 8, Bravo 9, and Bravo 10, which includes announce channels and TAC channels within those. Moving down, you have your Alco EFR alert, which is the 450 megahertz new alerting system for the county, and we also included a DNR forestry interop channel. Moving over to Zone C is primarily designed for your EMS providers in the field. It also begins with Alco Main and ends with Alco Main, with EMS 1, 2, and 3 splitting the county into thirds. EMS 1 will be your East End providers, EMS 2 will be your West End providers, and EMS 3 will be the Cumberland area. We also included the 7000 Region 1 call channel and med channels that MEMS are going live with within the next couple of months. We also included the countywide Alco TAC 1 and Alco Event 1. These are interop channels that police, fire, and EMS can use to communicate with each other. We also included a version of the Alco 700 alert, which is again simulcast from our 450 alerting system. The next zone is fire EMS repeaters. You have repeaters 1 through 10. All fire and EMS units are set up for fire EMS repeater 1 to be the primary repeater, which is set up within their system. This repeater can be activated by the mobile inside of the vehicle prior to getting out, but if you do not activate it prior to getting out of the vehicle, you can activate it off of the portable once you're out in the field by pushing the blue button on the side of the portable. If you see that channel is interfering with another incident going off of repeater 1, you can switch over to repeater 2 through 10 and use that repeater so that you don't have interference. Whatever unit activates the repeater first when going on the scene should announce that over the radio, and any other repeaters activated off of that would only be a slave to that master repeater that was initially activated. Fire TAC, which is your 7 fire TAC zone, has 4 direct channels listed within it. Notice the D means direct. That means these channels do not go off of the tower. They are just radio to radio. The Med UHF zone is set up with your current Call 1 and med channels that we use with MEMS today, which will be still active after their 700 going in use, but will not be the primary. The next zone over is your 700 R1 EMRC, which is basically your MEMS Region 1 med channels and call channels, but it also includes 2 helo channels, which will be used by MSP Aviation for air-to-ground communications. Notice there's D's inside of those 2 channels, which means these are only radio to radio. The next bank over is your ALCO countywide event bank, which contains 6 ALCO countywide TAC channels and 4 ALCO event channels. These are interop channels which are in all radios and can be used for interoperability between agencies. To the next zone is your 700 interop repeatered, which are 700 megahertz channels which are off of repeaters throughout the state. Prior to using these, you must go through dispatch to get permission. Moving on to your 800 interop channels, which are part of our WAGN, Washington Allegany Interop Network. These channels are also used as repeater channels and direct channels, depending on if you use the D ones or the ones without D. Moving on to the next zone, which is your Maryland call zone. These channels are throughout the state, and you must have permission through dispatch prior to using these channels because they are activated on a case-by-case basis. Your next zone is a 450 megahertz Mineral County zone. It starts off with the alert channel, which is MIN EFR, and ends with the MIN EFR. Your next zone continues on with the siren system for the state of West Virginia with Hampshire County. Moving next zone is Morgan County, and the last zone we have in here is Grant County, all again 450 megahertz. The last zone we have for West Virginia is the West Virginia Region 2 zone, which has a group of interop channels, and we also have direct 911 channels, which are 450 megahertz. Berkeley, Grant, Hampshire, Hardy, Jefferson, Mineral, and Morgan. Moving to our east, in the state of Maryland, we have Washco Fire 1 and Washco Fire 2. These zones are set up exactly how Washington County has it in their units, and they are all on a 450 megahertz radio system. The next zone over is the Bedford-Fulton Ops channels, which are on 450 megahertz, followed by the Bedford-Fulton Dispatch channels, which are just 2 channels for Bedford and Fulton. Following that, the zone we have is the ALCO 400 paging system, which is our new alerting system. The bank after that, we have our interop channels, which are also part of WAGN, noting the Ds are direct channel radio to radio, and the channels without Ds are off of towers, which have to be activated. The next zone over is the 450 megahertz windmill zone. This is the zone that our area windmills use for emergency operations. The next zone over we have is the MSP helo zone. These are the 2 direct channels which are used for ground to air communication. These particular channels are exactly the same as we have programmed in other places within the radio. Moving on to the last 4 zones within the radio, we have the MEMS 700 Region 3 EMRC, the MEMS 700 Region 4 EMRC, and the MEMS 700 Region 5 EMRC. These are put inside the radio in case we deploy an ambulance strike team or an ambulance task force somewhere within the state or the country. The last channel that we have inside of here is your ALCO alerting, which again is your 700 simulcast alert channel off of the county's new alerting system. We'll now round up this training session with a few more highlights of and features of the radio. One of them is the radio is waterproof, up to 24 inches in depth in water. It also has a high temp mic and mic cord, which can withstand some direct heat within inside a IDLH environment. The radio also has announce as you change the channels and zones throughout the radio. It will announce them verbally. The radio also has a smart battery. The battery is designed to last 3 to 5 years if taken care of properly. The radio should not be stored inside of the charger. Once the radio becomes fully charged, the green light will come on the charger, and it is good until you use the radio down to at least half. It is highly recommended that you do not recharge the radio every time that you take it out on a call, that you wait until the radio is down to at least 50% before recharging. Repeated recharging and reconditioning of the battery will decrease the life expectancy of the battery and will cause you to have to buy a new battery. The battery is also designed with the charger to be reconditioned When you put the battery inside of the charger and it flashes green, that means the battery is recharged, but you will need to recondition that battery sometime within the next few recharges. It is estimated if the battery is used correctly, you only have to recondition the battery every 3 to 4 months. Reconditioning of the battery takes approximately 12 hours and will put that battery out of service for that length of time. A normal recharge only takes approximately 1 hour. Highly recommend when you first get these radios that you charge up the batteries on them for a full 24-hour charge prior to putting them in service so that your battery has a full life expectancy with the radio.
Engine tanker 9-3 back in the station at 12:28 hours.